So, as you all know, Borderlands 4 is on the horizon. It's getting closer and closer to coming out every day. But they have given us a lot of information that we can use before the game even comes out so we can decide on how to best tackle the open world that we have going on. So, with the four Vault Hunters, they have their own unique skill trees. Each one has three different skill trees. And we're going to go ahead and talk about Rafa, the Exo Soldier. Rafa the Exo Soldier looks really nice, really good. But first, we're going to look at the Vault Hunter basics. So these are the basics of what they have each. Each of these Vault Hunters are going to have three distinct action skills that are available to each Vault Hunter, but only one can be equipped at a time. Note that some items in the skill tree, augments, and capstones must be equipped into your loadout to gain their effect. So every Vault Hunter has three skill trees, each stemming from a action skill. You'll need to invest 5 skill points you get from leveling up into a given row to unlock access to the next row. Once you've invested the 15 skill points into a skill tree, you'll have access to 3 branches for that skill tree. At the bottom of those branches is a powerful capstone. So, a capstone is going to be the powerful enhancements that modify or overdrive specific action skill functionalities. Basically, what they're saying is that the capstone is kind of like an ultimate ability. And augments enhance the secondary bonuses to your action skills. In most cases, only one augment can be equipable at a time. So you can use action skills from other skill trees, even if you haven't invested any points into them. But you won't be able to equip the powerful augments or capstones from the skill tree into the action skill of a different skill tree. Committing skill points to the skill tree that will properly synergize with your favorite action skill is key. Note that all skill names, descriptions, and numbers listed below are subject to change. Vault Hunters aren't exactly known to be predictable, so all this stuff can change from day to day. So we'll have to see. So with the Exo Soldier, with Rafa, he activates an action skill. He enters overdrive. While the action skill is active, overdrive's duration does not decrease. While overdrive is active, Rafa gains increased movement speed and deals increased damage with all sources. One of his skill trees is going to be the people person. So Rafa has a lance, an offhand arm cannon that decreases Rafa's gun handle, but allows him to fire piercing shock ordnance blasts. Any unused charges of the lance ends are converted into action skill cooldown. Press an action skill to fire a piercing shock ordnance blast at enemies and consume a charge, or hold it down and you charge it up for his lance for increased damage, projectile size, and the projectile speed at the cost of unused charges. And then we have the remote agent skill tree. Rafa equips shoulder-mounted Peacebreaker can fire at enemies in front of him for duration, dealing kinetic gun damage. Rafa can end Peacebreaker cannons early, partially refunding action skill cooldown. So the arc knives. So this year's gimmick skill tree. Rafa puts down his guns and equips his arc knives, blades that deal melee damage and mark enemies whenever they damage them, causing them to take increased damage for every mark on them. So Rafa can perform melee attacks with Rafa's arc knives, dash forward and perform a shock melee attack, unleash Rafa's Blade Fury, which deals shock damage to all marked enemies and ends the skill. That right there sounds really powerful. So we're gonna talk about the people's person skill tree. So these are the abilities. So this is what I'm talking about. You have to have 15 points in this top tree right here, and then you could go ahead and put your other points into here. And each one of these right here is the as a capstone, capstone, and capstone. These are the augments right here. So we could just go ahead and go over all these skills that we have going on. But there's like going to be a lot of skills and stuff like that. Most of them are going to be passive. So let's just break down the augments. So we got whenever Rafa consumes an Orphis Lance charge, he gains increased action skill cooldown rate. This bonus is increased for every Lance charge consumed. So this augment gains an additional charge. Additionally, whenever Rafa consumes a set minimum number of charges, he gains increased action skill potency. So let's go down to so we got that's for just the regular top part right here, and then we're gonna go down to the branch one, and then his the lance gains critical hit chance for this augment, and then the capstone is gonna be lance is now a close range shocking taser. Pressing and holding the skill causes Rafa to deal shock damage in an arc in front of him. The longer Rafa holds his attack, the greater the damage it deals. That sounds pretty powerful. Then you have all these skills and stuff that you could put in there to make it even more powerful. So that seems like a really good skill. I like that one. So we got the remote agent. So the remote agent has a lot of good ones too. Rafa's Pierce Breaker cannons gain an increased critical hit chance. That's pretty good. While Peacebreaker cannons are active, Rafa and his allies regenerate ammo into their magazine. That's a pretty good one too. So we're gonna get the capstone. So the capstones is Peacebreaker cannons are replaced with shotguns that deal increased damage and have an increased pellet count. Additionally, Rafa's turrets gain a chance to ricochet off of targets. Ricochet deal reduced damage, and critical hits always ricochet. That sounds pretty good. And in this capstone, Rafa's Peacebreaker cannons are replaced with a shock beam and a corrosive beam. Each beam automatically locks onto your enemy in view and may lock onto different enemies. Okay, that sounds good. So that's a good one too. But the one that I'm really interested in is actually his arc knives. His arc knife seems really powerful, and the melee is going to be insanely good because they're going to be that powerful. Whenever Rafa kills an enemy while arc knives are active, restore a portion of his health. Whenever Rafa gains health, deal bonus corrosive damage with all attacks and gain increased movement speed. This effect can stack, so that's a really good augment. Arc knives do not end when their duration runs out. Instead, they only end if Rafa enters fight for your life or activates a Blade Fury. While arc knives duration is depleted, Rafa loses health instead. Whew, okay, that's a good one. So this capstone is activating Blade Fury causes Rafa to spin his blades, creating a singularity that draws in all marked enemies and other nearby enemies while dealing continuous shock damage. Whenever this attack kills an enemy, Overdrive grants increased action skill cooldown rate. So that's kind of like what you want. You want that. You want these powerful. While arc knives are active, Rafa's exosuit stores all damage dealt to him. The exosuit then heats up and consistently deals damage, small amount of incendiary damage to him. Additionally, Rafa's melee attacks deal bonus incendiary damage. A portion of all damage dealt to Rafa is also dealt to enemies he has marked. Using Blade Fury causes Rafa to consume all stored damage and deals bonus incendiary damage based on stored damage. A portion of all damage dealt this way is returned to Rafa as health. That's going to be incredible right here. This right here is going to be actually incredible. Arc Knives, I think, is going to be like super overpowered. They're definitely going to be able to or have to nerf this. They are probably going to have to nerf this. This is kind of like what the skill points are going to be. Honestly, this is probably like the best build that you're going to have. But we'll also know more when we get into the game and whenever the game comes about. So Rafa is going to be really powerful. We all know this, and can't wait for this game to start. So if you have any questions down below, what do you guys think of the skill trees? What kind of skill tree do you think Rafa is going to be best in? You have three of them to choose from. So me, I think that the arc knives are going to be super powerful, and it's going to be no doubt probably the number one character that people pick. But until next time, guys, we will catch you guys later.